586.
You've
just got the clicker there too.
Thank you. Morena koutou, ngā mihi o te ata, ko Katina Konomos toku ingoa. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a resident here in Thames. I've lived here for 11 years. Work-wise, I am an independent contractor with a background in strategic planning, corporate planning, and I work predominantly with small government entities in the local government sector and the sector. So that's a little bit about me. When thinking about contemplating this verbal submission today, I was mindful that the matters raised in my submission, and certainly the matters that you have before you in your LTP, big topics, short amount of time. So that's, I guess, a recognition that any verbal submission in 5 minutes is never going to be able to get into the depths of the substance and importance of these matters. And I also wish to acknowledge that it's quite a complex time and challenging time in the local government sector. You've got reform facing on multiple fronts. Future for local government review, RM reforms and quarters. So I appreciate you've got a lot to grapple with. It's not just difficult, but it's also urgent. So recently I came across an excellent report, and this is since my submission, but I want to use some of the critical moments of my submission to bring this to your attention. It was commissioned by Taituara, which is the professional managers, local government association of professional managers, and it's navigating critical 21st century transitions. And I really commend this report to you, and the reason I wanted to bring it to attention is that it sets out the context that we're currently in our society, and it places, helpfully, I think, the role of local government within that. It describes what the report calls era-scale changes, and it sets out 5 critical transitions that we as a society need to make. I'll pop them up here. I'm not going to try to detail them. You can see them there: transition to low emissions living, low waste, community interconnectedness and continual learning. But it helpfully sets out that the assumptions that we have underpinning our society today and that are inherent in our policy settings aren't these. You know, they won't help us get to here. So we need a new set of assumptions, and that's where, I guess, in local government and policy, that's a critical role that you have. Basically, I mean, the report it's not a big read, but it does set out that everything has to change. We're in a situation of transition where everything has to change. It's a massive vision, it's a massive job, and I would commend this report to you because it helps provide a framework for that thinking and placing the role of local government in that. I'll just one brief quote from the report to just give you a bit of context. It says, international action is important along with central government action, but above all, this is a community challenge. The local government sector has a pivotal role to play in the scale and speed at which we can make these transitions. So just a little part of that report, I highly commend it to you. To my submission points quickly, emissions reduction. The urgency and necessity of rapid emissions reduction is well canvassed and now baked into New Zealand legislation. So I submit that the carbon emissions roadmap that you're embarking on, that it be aligned to the Climate Change Commission's advice or better. Please be ambitious. We have a moral imperative to be so. I also submit on this matter that you specifically allocate resource, both human and financial, into the LTP for the years of the LTP. It's not an add-on. I do believe, in my experience, you're going to need somebody to drive that through the organisation, and a resource will help you achieve that. That resource will also keep abreast of all of the changing topics and the landscape of information that's coming at you here. 1 minute. Thank you. Waste minimisation. Just a photo here. This is Kaiala. When this, I know this is a top space, but just an emphasis of something in my submission about the scale of risk here, and just to ask you as governors to consider what you know about the 10 sites in TCDC that are at risk of coastal erosion, asking questions. So I'll jump to decision making. I acknowledge that governance is a tough gig. You have a lot of responsibility and not a lot of visibility often. The diversity of decisions that come to you is really extensive. So you have the power to ask questions, and I would urge you to make adjustments to your decision-making reports to explicitly prompt staff to bring you analysis on the matters of climate impacts, and also seek in your decision-making reports an explicit test on what impact, if any, the shoreline management plan work could have in relation to the decisions you're considering. The council's placing a lot of emphasis on the SMPs, and on the knowledge and direction that will come from that. So I would urge you to ensure you're considering the potential implications of that knowledge in your decisions. So, Morera, and I'm here to
Thank you. Any questions of Katina? There being none, thank you, Katina.
the second one there.
Yeah. Warwick Lee James. 776.
Yeah, good morning, Warwick Lee James. I've been a self-employed builder with my own company in this region. I've been here for 3.5 years. And what I've noticed in the 3.5 years, I'm just going to be very brief about it, what I've noticed in the 3.5 years is the cost escalation on capital expenditure on the projects which have been carried out throughout the region, and how we keep managing to blow out these projects. In simple terms, I mean, if you're in private enterprise and you have a budget blowout and you blow your money to millions of dollars, you're out of business and you're liquidated. So what my concern is today is that how are you going to manage going forward these projects and how you're going to minimise these actually budget blowouts. That's one thing. The other thing what we've got to look at is that the fact of the matter is that you're proposing an increase of 7.1% on the rates demand, but that actually equates to a pension payment of a week. I mean, how do people actually afford that? You know, there's a lot of people out there hurting at the moment. You know, everyone's on the backlash of COVID, more so in the industry I am, but that's rolling ahead. But I mean, everyone's taken a cut. Did you guys take a cut in the COVID situation? I mean, we've got to work within our budgets. It's just a common sense, basic, fundamental thing. This booklet here, I hate to think how much that would have cost. Why wouldn't you just do that in black and white to minimise the cost? You know, it's just got to. In my philosophy, you know, I've been in building industry for over 40 years, and my philosophy is very simple. And I say to the clients and everyone, if you can't afford to do it, you save up the money and then we'll look at the project. And I think that should be a philosophy which this council's got to take forward, honestly. We need to have accountability, viability, more often, and consolidation to reduce our debt and borrowing at this time, because it's just going to escalate. If you think it's going to be 7.7% next year and the following year, it won't be, it'll be more. The other thing that I can't work out is that why isn't the council not indexed to inflation? It's always above the inflation rate for the increase. So there's a bit of food for thought.
Thank you. Does that conclude your submission, Warwick?
Yeah, that's it.
Are there any questions of Warwick? There being none, thank you very much, Warwick. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Ms. Richard.
Welcome, Mr. Chair of the Environmental Committee Board. We will give you 10 minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you very much, and good morning to the councillors and my fellow elected members. So you will have seen our submission in your portfolio there, and I always believe in starting with the good news. So on page 273, you'll see the net effect of our proposal, which is a 0.17% increase in the local rate. So keep that number in mind if you wouldn't mind, and then backtrack to page 270 and I'll go through our submission items. The first one being the increased cost of rubbish and recycling. This is your solid waste strategy, and the Coromandel Community Board support that the council include in the LTP a commitment to prioritise a full review of the district-wide solid waste strategy and method of service delivery. We believe that's definitely needs to be done. I won't touch on molluscs or matarangi or sometime rubbish collections, other than to say that there should be a consistent level of service throughout the district, and if an area wants a greater level of service, then that should be funded by the local area of benefit. So I'll turn the page to item 2, which fees and charges, and the intent of option 1 is supported. Although we do request some modification to the terminology used, and it's requested that the following options be adopted. And that is to investigate introducing new fees and charges that target visitors for the use of facilities and services. And that should be a wide-ranging investigation, and looking at all the available options to target that funding stream. Other than that, the second point on fees and charges is a proposed change to our current fees and charges review, and this has been circulated, I believe, in the previous LTP as well. It's something that I remember Murray in particular was keen on having implemented, and I don't believe it ever actually came to fruition. But our community would believe that a review of charges for commercial operators using the wards and reserves be prioritised and objectives set to have an outcome in place for the 22-23 year. So let's put a timeline on that rather than just leave it open. And there's also been a proposed change to fees and charges already circulated, and we would request that we hold off implementing that proposed fees and charges until this investigation has been concluded. Item 3, CapEx priority list. We're basically suggesting that retain all Coromandel Coalville CapEx items which are currently included in the draft LTP. Item 4, and the rest of these are actually the nice to have items that we believe should be looked at a little more closely. First issue being the Coromandel Township bypass. This has been floating around for many, many years. And we've got some traction now. We've spent money in this current year getting to a certain point, and by putting this item into the nice to have, that means there's a pause in progress, and we don't think there should be a pause in progress, and we think that $50,000 from the 23-24 CapEx budget be brought forward and used in the 22-23 year to maintain the momentum that we've gathered so far. So $50,000 there just to maintain that, and that means that should circumstances change, then we can continue with the project looking at 3.4 million later on. But we need to maintain the momentum that we built over the last year, otherwise we've wasted our money. Moving on to the next items, which are items 5 and 6. These should be seen as one item really, in that our proposal is that we continue with the footpath construction budget and maintain what we have been doing. Footpaths are jolly expensive, and our community board has been merging two financial years to do one project, and we've already done that for 2021. We've got another half of that project to do next year, and we would like to be able to continue doing that kind of thing, with one exception, and that is we take a pause on the footpath construction for 1 year and use the footpath money to complete the last piece of sealing in Coromandel Township. We have Pottery Lane West, which is currently unsealed. It's right now CBD, it's right by the busy supermarket. It's a service lane which goes behind the shops. It's costing council money at the moment because we are constantly filling up the potholes that are coming into it. So we're suggesting that we continue with the footpath budget for 22-23 and then hold it for a year and transfer that funding. Let's finish that last bit of sealing in the town and then continue back with the footpath construction again. The next item is our multiple reserves projects. This is something that we've been doing for many, many years, and I think it's a relatively small amount of money, but it gives you big bangs for your buck with the public. It's a visible sign that the community boards are doing something. Our public convenience renewals, number 8 as well, is something that we have been consistently doing. We've got, I'm told, between 12 and 14 public conveniences in our ward. They do need maintenance, they do need renewals, and we've been doing one every second year. So we're proposing that if we maintain that cycle, that won't make any difference whatsoever to our budget for the next financial year because it's every second year. But having that number of assets fall behind in their renewal program, it just makes it harder and harder to catch up later on. So we would request that that allocated budget continue. Which brings us to item 9, the public transport trial. This is really just reiterating what the public are demanding, and it's something that's it's essential to a lot of people. How's it going to go? I don't know. No one really knows, but I think if there's enough willingness to give it a go, we'll let the public decide its future. But for now, it won't happen if we don't get behind it. So we would like to put this $30,000 odd into that draft LPT as a must-have item. Let's give it a go. So all that comes up with the figure I mentioned earlier at the bottom, a 0.17% increase in the Coromandel Coalville local rate, $5.86 per rating unit. I think it's not a huge amount of money, but it does show the public that the community board are doing something. We are active, and if you don't spend that money, then they're going to be saying, well, what are you doing? You know, let's continue the momentum we've already had, and let's give the public visible signs that the community board and council are supporting our ward.
Well done, thank you, Peter, and only at $5.86 in the rate of the bridge. Well done, thank you very much. Any questions? Martin?
That's the first year.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what it said in there.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking there's those 2.8 million and 24-25, which would obviously have an impact on that.
Yeah, that's.
And have you got a question, Martin?
No, it's clarifying.
Are there any other questions for Peter? There being none, thank you very much, Peter. Really appreciate it, looking awfully beachy.
Yeah.
Living in paradise again.
Oh, we are, very much so.
You are.
Okay, so. Graham Smith.
Which is this
Graham
one?
Smith is on your second sheet. Let's look back on bringing him forward. 693, page 693.
I've got some handouts.
We'll take handouts.
Oh, good morning, Your Worship, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak to our submission today. Please don't sell the land on the corner of Lindsay Road and Martin Road in Whangamata. Please give us a chance to establish a facility that will help connect all the community. I'm Graham Smith, chairperson of the Whangamata Arts Collective. Our collective have 4 pretty amazing events happening each year, all diverse, attracting artists from Opotri to Furatoa and beyond. Our membership has increased by more than 20% this year, with some exciting young talent joining the fold. What we don't have is a home for tutor art, display art, promote art, encourage art, and pass on skills to our next generation. The Lindsay Road land already has a comprehensive plan in concept form to build a community hub, and the Whangamata Arts Collective would be one of the stakeholders and supporters. Please don't sell the land. Give us a chance to connect positively with our community. I think this is a really cool document that you guys have put together and submitted. I hope it went to every household in our district. In particular, I really like the word from the Mayor, and in particular, paragraph 4, which says, partnering with others and developing relationships is a core focus at every level. Goes on to say, being open to new ideas, creative thinking, and being willing to adapt to changing needs is a constant. Our changing need is to do our best to future-proof the recognisable growth in Whangamata and provide new foundations and opportunities that ensure we are connected as effectively as possible with everyone. This land will be used wisely, with every facet of the planned community hub scrutinised, dissected and discussed to ensure it is fit for purpose, mirroring the current and future needs of our people. The combination of other community groups are a perfect fit for this facility and will ensure everyone has a central base. Please don't sell the land at Lindsay Road. Give us a chance to make a difference. Give us a chance to enrich our community. Give us a chance to be proud. We can build a community hub, we can build pathways to get there. But more importantly, when all the work is done, we will continue to build relationships. Please don't sell the land.
Thank you, Graham. That was very well done. A nice balance of positive and dramatic. Yes, Robin.
Graham, yesterday Ken Coulomb, who's the community board chair from as you know, suggested that the community board suggested to us that we put a hold on selling the land for 5 years to enable the concepts to find external funding. Is that something that you would support? That, you know,
Yeah, well,
give you a period of time?
I think a shorter frame would be even more appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we can't get things going, in less time than 5 years, sounds wrong.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Any other questions? There being none. Thank you very much, Graham.
Thank you.
Right, who we got next here? The lady Croc. So what's your name, please? Are you presenting?
Yeah, I was supposed to present this day. Rob Boston.
I'll be taking out. Yeah.
So that?
Yeah. You're welcome.
So this is Rob Boston on behalf of Whangatau Community Instead.
Page 657.
He's got 3.
You've got windshield, ratepayers and contact community.
He's a busy man. Is there anything in Whangatau you don't do? Is there anything in Whangatau you don't do?
Graham, did you want to sit with them?
I think it's mine works.
Right, go to your life.
Can I start with the committee floor, please?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak to these 3 issues. The community pool I have circulated, or it's been circulated, this is just a flyer that we put out to the community prior to the submissions for the long-term plan. It was to just try and get our non-swimming community, if you like, up to speed with what we're proposing for the pool. The pool was built in 1991 at no cost to the ratepayers. It was built on land provided by the school. It was locals fundraised and built the pool. Since then, the Whangatau Community Pool has become an integral part of the community. Countless families have experienced what the facility has to offer. And in 2020-21 season, we had just over 21,500 pool admissions, that's swim admissions, that's young kids and families in a 6-month season. It's significantly higher than we've had in the past. However, after 30 years, the pool needs some fairly serious upgrade. The main part of the upgrade refers to the mechanical and operational side of the pool, the heating, the pumping, and we are talking about a learn to swim therapeutic pool, but also the toilets and the changing facilities. I've just probably had a lick of paint in the last 30 years, and that's about it. So the Pool Management Committee, we visited several pools in the Coromandel area and outside of the Coromandel area, and you'll see that listed in your sheet here. And as a result, we came up with several points. The first one was to discontinue the original concept of covering the pool. That was in 2016. We looked at the Thames Centennial Pool, and we saw that the heat pumps there were pretty efficient, and that's what we followed, and we thought that's a good example to use, and it would allow us to enjoy a 12-month season. There was a strong commitment to develop a learn to swim pool. We see this in our community as vital, surrounded by water, and a therapeutic pool for people who are recovering from surgery, elderly people who've got injuries, that we thought that this was also a huge benefit. There was a report previously produced that talked about our filtration system, and we're looking to upgrade that. One of the things that we did talk about before long-term plan was the purchase of a modern pool of an updated pool cover, and we've applied for a grant through Lion Foundation, who gave us 40 grand, and that will start next year anyway, for the start of next season. The toilet upgrades are referred to, and managing the pool with appropriate staffing levels. That's something we've discovered as we've gone through the process of visiting pools. We're very pleased that we've been given this opportunity to access funding, because the centricity of this timing is perfect for us, because of the long-term plan not being in this particular time slot, I don't know how we would have gone about upgrading the pool. However, option one, your preferred option, will be too difficult, I believe, for the management committee to meet. And I'll give you some examples why. The pool is only open for 6 months of the year, so we lose 6 months of contact with our customers. Interest and enthusiasm will be difficult over those winter months. The pool isn't a bowling club. We don't have members, we have users. And they come to the pool once a day, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and then they do their recreation and then they come back again. And we don't have that regular contact other than, hello, did you enjoy it, goodbye. The Wongamata Bowling Club, for example, opened a new term. 1 minute. Right, I'll skip on. We urge you to support option 2. Sorry, I just lost the track of thought there. We urge you to support option 2. That's the $500,000 grant. The area is growing. The school roll now is up to 560. 2 years ago, it was about 360. We're seeing a lot more younger families, younger retirees are coming to live permanently in Wongamata. We believe the current level of development in town and nearby communities, together with the increasing benefits of a healthy lifestyle to promote physical and mental well-being, that our pool will become an even greater asset to those living and visiting in this region. We just urge you to support option 2. The long-term document refers to infrastructure strategy and considers our community's needs for the next 30 years. That's what we're trying to do. We're looking for the next 30 years.
Well, time's up for that one, but if you want to use up your time for the other 2, that's fine.
No, I think I've got where I've got to.
Yeah.
Is there any questions on that one? Anybody?
Are there any questions for Bob on the pool? Martin?
So the existing solar heating, let's say that will just remain in place until it's...
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, it's probably running at about 70% really in peak times, but we will just let it roll over until it was time to discontinue it. We'll take it off the roof.
That's been there since the pool was...
2002. Yeah, that was built a bit later. Yeah, right. Put on later. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
So you're now speaking on behalf of...
Now I'm talking about Menshed.
Thank you. 652.
And this is a submission supporting the retaining of the Lindsay Road and investigation of community uses. We have several members in the Menshed who are involved with the planning of this proposed community hub. Menshed supports this submission. There are over 70 clubs in Wongamata. Many have club rooms and facilities where they operate, but many don't. They have to arrange meetings and activities in any space that they can find. People join these clubs for a wide variety of reasons, most to enjoy camaraderie, friendship, meeting others with similar interests, supporting the community, keeping in touch, maintaining physical and mental well-being. Clubs provide a majority of the community's volunteer base. The ability to share resources and facilities is priceless. It will certainly be true of those local voluntary organisations, the Community Patrol, Menshed, Wongamata Lions, the Theatre Society and the Arts Collective have also actively supported this concept of a community hub. There's been several preliminary meetings held over the years and concept sketches produced, budgets prepared and reports compiled. At the public meeting on the 31st of March, 140 people attended to discuss this long-term plan and the 2021-2031. There was a huge amount of debate over the proposed sale of the Thames-Coromandel District site on Lindsay Road, and several speakers spoke to the development of a community hub on that site. They voiced their disappointment that the long-term plan submission document did not include any information on the community hub. And there's 3 documents here. The first meeting took place in 2015. There was another community meeting in Opotari in 2018. A review was done in 2019. And a business case was put together in 2020, and nothing was in this long-term plan to refer to that particular concept. Those present were very much in favour of the land being retained for community use, and the Wongamata Community Menshed strongly urge you to support option 3. And I do like the comment that I heard about giving the community 5 years to actually get its act together to do something. And I think that would be a good start. That's been said done.
Thank you, well done. Are there any questions on the mention?
I just got one to Rob. Is the project considering using ratepayers' money to build the complex?
The community hub. No, my understanding is it's all coming through private funding.
Thank you.
So this submission is on behalf of the Wongamata Ratepayers Association, and it's based upon the response that we had to our public meeting that we jointly hosted with Grey Power on the 31st of March. Those present were very clear in their opposition to the proposed sale of the land in the Wongamata industrial area. It was this strong feeling at the meeting that prompted the Wongamata Ratepayers Management Committee to make this submission. Again, there's disappointment that the submission didn't include any information regarding the proposed hub, which had been in the pipeline for quite a long period of time. One of the things that we discussed briefly was that the key ingredient for a long-term plan is that of vision. And with the current developments and growth in the town, who knows what priorities we might need in Wongamata in 2031. Once this land is gone, if it's sold, it's gone forever. So where is the vision? I like the word that Graham used, the creativity. The town is growing for several reasons. Obviously, the lifestyle, people love living in Wongamata. COVID-related has provided the ability for people to work remotely, and it's a great place to bring up kids. It's the only town I know of that you can allow your kids to cycle to school and know that they'll come home safely. Developers are eyeing the town. The campsite's gone. This week, the geotech engineers started preliminary exploratory work on that site. We know that the eviction notices to some of those people is in October. 3 sections of land in Port Road have been sold and they will be developed. That's right in the centre of town. The residential land on the road south opposite the golf course, there are houses planned and development there. There's also land being developed on the outskirts of town going north. I'm aware of a spatial plan that is being put into place or is being talked about, and I think it's very important. But once these are all fully developed, and we could be talking only 2 or 3 years, there'll be a greater requirement for community-based infrastructure. And in what form, I don't think we know yet. Nobody knows what we're going to need in several years' time. It's a fair bet that a community-based hub, centre, facility could be one of them. There's already a proposal for that. Perhaps an expanded medical centre, a dementia unit, temporary accommodation for people at risk, a refuge, accommodation for seasonal workers, and heaven forbid a sports centre, but we might need one. In the short term, it could be used as a seasonal recycling centre. It could be used for a motorhome caravan park. The accommodation for these vehicles is going to be compounded when the motor camp ceases to exist, probably at the end of this year. Selling this land for about $3 million just doesn't make sense to me. In 10 years' time, when the community might have to pay many, many times more to develop land for community facilities, we urge you to adopt option 3. I do like that idea of 5 years. It gives us a bit more time. And just as a footnote, on all 3 of these submissions, everybody that I talked to wanted me to comment on the fact how difficult it was to access the site to get round and how you filled in the submission forms. We're talking my age, we're not talking young kids, we're talking people that was at the Grey Power, ratepayers, Men's Shed. Everybody we've spoken to, even people involved with the pool, found it very, very difficult, frustrating, trying to get those submissions in online. One point that I did hear this morning was that of engaging young people. We came across, Graham and I canvassed many people in Wongamata, and the young people we came across were angry, frustrated, that they couldn't make meetings. They couldn't make them, and it's not a real excuse, but they couldn't make them. They were working, they were at the wrong time, they had families. When they got to a meeting, they felt disenfranchised. They said, you're all old. That's fact of life. And I urge everybody to try to find a way where we can engage young people. Those 3 girls that were here, the girl that spoke this morning, it's fantastic. We need more young people getting involved at this level. Climate change is one thing, but local politics, because one girl who's going to come later on today, she lives in Wongamata, she's 17, she might not have a community facility in 10 years' time because we sold it. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any further questions involved?
I've got a very simple question. I just want a very simple yes or no answer. Has anyone explained to you the difference between land owned by the district and the land owned by local communities?
No,
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't understand that question, but that's all right.
Well, that's good, because you don't understand it. It explains a lot to us. So that's
Could you
good.
explain it
Thank
to me
you.
then, please?
Your council would understand it. Well, I'll explain it to you.
Right, okay, so moving, actually. Where you got?
So far ahead in time.
No, Grace has already been.
No, we're at 25 minutes earlier than we should be.
Is there anyone online?
That's good.
Is there anyone online? Oh, I've just been too efficient. So just draw everybody's attention to the map of the district.
Oh, I thought I was.
Can I just show everybody the map of the district? Can the screen pan to the map of the district?
Manually it can.
Okay, so, just for your information, that is a map of the district.
No.
And that is, I'm talking to the people in the gallery. And those are the people that, all of that district, those are the owners of the property.
Okay. Carry on.
Yeah. Just to let you know, thank you. Okay, so we have finished, Jerry.
Would you like to? Doesn't matter, that's certainly not to explain the difference, what is district land and what is local land. What is the current?
It's a silly question.
No, it's not a silly question, it's the actually the current problem.
We only have to decide whether or not we want to sell the land or lease it out for a fixed term for a commercial return, or give it up on conditions for $350 a year. Oh, so anyway, we shouldn't be having this discussion because we put online. There's still lots of questions, so we're going to take a recess for the time being until we have some more.
Do they know?
No, that's what I'm saying.
At 12 o'clock, so it's pretty good.
So we'll just, if we get some more